Hey guys, so I said that I would want to do like more top tens, and I asked my girlfriend what I should do next, and she thought I should do another top ten. But for this time, I'll be doing a top 10 of my favorite movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, since this franchise has been going on for over 10 years. I mean, for 10 years now. It's hard to believe that this franchise has been going on for 10 years. And I really love these movies. I love this franchise and how well they're doing. And I mean, I love the characters, everything about it. It's just everything that's been building up to Infinity War. Um, it's just, I mean, I've been growing up with these movies since I was 10, ever since I first watched Iron Man. And now, let's get to it. Alright. And just like my previous video, I'll also have some honorable mentions before my number one. So, my number 10 favorite MCU movie is Doctor Strange. And the reason why this movie works so well is because of the casting of Benedict Cumberbatch. Perfect casting for Doctor Strange because he understands the character and how he works. I mean, at first he starts out as a neurosurgeon who is also kind of a jackass until he ends up in a car accident that severely damaged his hands and is now on a journey to I mean he wants to he's trying to like he wants his hands to get like 100% again, and just and then this all leads to him discovering Kamertage and then learning the ways of the mystical arts from the Ancient One. The casting choice for the Ancient One, it was also, I mean, this was clearly an example of Hollywood whitewashing because the Ancient One is an Asian character, but I honestly had no problem with Tilda Swinton playing the Ancient One. And of course, you have Mads Mikkelsen playing the villain Caecilius in this movie. And really, when your name is Mads Mikkelsen, you kind of have to play the villain. And of course, there's Dormammu, who's only in the movie for about like 2 minutes. It's just, but still, I mean, that one scene where Strange just uses the time stone and create a time loop. It was so great. That's probably my favorite scene in the movie, and it's one of my favorite in the MCU. Number 9 is Spider-Man: Homecoming. And since Sony and Marvel are finally working together, Spider-Man now finally gets to be part of the MCU. And I really love Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and of course we have Michael Keaton as the Vulture. And as a kid, I grew up watching Michael Keaton as Batman, and I really thought he was awesome as the Vulture. And I honestly couldn't picture anybody else pulling this character off like he did. It's just it was perfect casting for my opinion, and it also understands the character of Spider-Man. I mean, just like Spider-Man 2 did, because, and I'm glad that they gave us a Spider-Man who feels like a kid, because he is a kid. He's a teenager. He's in high school, and uh, he's like trying to balance his life as a high school student while also being a superhero. So I mean, that's why this movie worked so well, and I think that Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man since Tobey Maguire, and that's why this movie is also in there my favorite of the MCU. Number 8 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, first, when this before this movie was even released, I thought this movie was gonna suck, and this would probably be the worst in the franchise. I was very wrong. This is like this was a phenomenal movie, and I didn't expect it to be that great because I mean it's filled with characters that I didn't even know about until I saw the movie, and I love the cast. I love Chris Pratt, and he was funny, and I mean all the characters. I mean there's Star Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, Groot, and uh, but my favorite character in that movie, and also in the second movie, is Yondu, played by Michael Rooker, because he has a flying arrow and it just flies around whenever he whistles. that was so, that was so badass. Uh, yeah, and we also, I mean, have classic '70s and '80s music playing in that movie, and it was it was pretty good. I mean, I love Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's definitely one of the best in the MCU. And number seven. Now I had to think about this, but I mean, I know a lot of people love this one, and this is the one that started it all. So my number seven is Iron Man, and Robert Downey Jr. nails it. I can't picture anybody else playing Iron Man other than Robert Downey Jr. because I love how the movie starts. I mean, and and the oh, it tells a really excellent origin story, and uh, it starts off with I mean at first Tony Stark, he's a weapons designer, and I mean once he got injured and after months of captivity, he manages to escape and announce that he's no longer making weapons because he's now a changed man, and now decides to become a superhero. And I mean the visuals, the acting, and of course there's Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, and like I said, I can't picture anybody else playing the character other than him because I mean he's just so lovable. Yeah, so Iron Man definitely deserved a spot on my list. So yeah, number six is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and this is the first in the MCU. This is the first MCU movie to be directed by the Russo brothers, who would later direct Civil War and Infinity War, and they knocked it out of the park with this one because at first when I saw the first Avenger, I wasn't really into the Captain America character until I watched the Avengers, which was really awesome, and I knew that I had to see the Winter Soldier because I mean, and this movie was so badass because it's not just a superhero movie. It felt like a spy film, a spy thriller, honestly, because I mean, there you have a superhero fighting a villain who is also later turns out to be his best friend, Bucky, and I mean that the tension and the suspense and everything. I mean, I mean, you felt like, oh my god, Bucky. Yeah, it was just so. I love how they like build up the suspense and the tension and everything, and the action is done perfectly, and oh, the performances, they're amazing. I mean, the casting, I mean, the action, the stunt work, it's gold, and it's definitely one of the best in the MCU. Number five is Thor Ragnarok, and this is one of my girlfriend's favorites. So this definitely had to be on the list. So, and this is easily the best Thor movie because it takes Thor to a different direction because it's being serious and also not being serious at the same time because it's a comedy in some parts of the movie because I mean it's a really hilarious movie because there are times when I saw this in theaters where I laughed my ass off, and and when you're watching this movie, you have a great hero, a terrifying and intimidating villain. I mean, played by Kate Blanchett of all people. She is amazing as Hela, and I think Chris Hemsworth did his best as Thor in this one. And Mark, I really love his. Um, I really loved Thor's fight with the Hulk in this one, and this is definitely so far the best that Mark Ruffalo has done as Bruce Banner and the Hulk in this one. So, and like I said, it is easily the best Thor movie, and it definitely earned its spot on my list. So, yeah. Number four, and I had to think about this one, but number four is the Avengers. Yep, the big crossover that, oh, it was amazing, and at by the time that I mean at the time of after its release, it became the third highest grossing movie of all time, and it's just it was amazing back in the day, and I remember seeing this in theaters, and it was crowded, and that was actually the first time where I walked into a theater, and it was packed. I remember going there with my dad, and I was like, oh my god, all these people just wanting to see this movie, and it was so epic. You have a group of superheroes fighting an army of aliens, and the god of mischief, Loki, played masterfully by Tom Hiddleston. And when it comes to the characters, you have Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man, Chris Evans playing Captain America, Chris Hemsworth playing Thor, Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow, Mark Ruffalo playing the Hulk, Jeremy Renner playing Hawkeye, and of course Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. They're all amazing in this movie, and everything about it. Josh Whedon's direction of the action, the cast, everything about that movie was so amazing, and it definitely earned its A+ in my review with my girlfriend, and it's definitely worthy on my list. So, baby, if you're watching this, I love you. Number three is Captain America Civil War, and it is the second MCU movie directed by the Russo brothers. And this is definitely, at the time I thought this was the best MCU movie yet, which means it was better than the Avengers, for my opinion. And it has our heroes fighting each other. At first, it starts off with the Avengers tracking down the remnants of Hydra, particularly Crossbones. They managed to take him down, but unfortunately, it led to several civilian casualties, and this also is added to a long list of, whenever the Avengers are around, things tend to get a bit destructive. You may have noticed that. And this leads to the return of General Ross, who is now Secretary of State Ross, who was originally in The Incredible Hulk. And he introduces a plan called the Sokovia Accords, which basically what it would do is remove the Avengers from autonomy and place them under direct control of the United Nations. And this almost immediately divides the group because, it understands a certain point of view for different characters, because some people, like Iron Man, think that the Avengers should have government oversight, while others, like Captain America, think that government oversight is going to lead up to more problems than it will solve. then the team is even further divided when the Winter Soldier suddenly reappears, and it leads up to even more people dying. And Cap thinks that Bucky is being framed and wants to help him, and this all leads up to a huge fight with the Avengers. On one side, Team Cap. One side, Team Iron Man, and it's definitely the best Captain America movie. I mean, which means it's better than the Winter Soldier. And when you watch the movie, you understand the characters' choices, because Tony Stark wants to have the government oversight after he meets the mother of someone who was killed in Sokovia, and her story hits him pretty hard because he does make a fair point. They frightened a lot of people, and having the UN keep them in check can fix this problem. But Steve Rogers thinks that government oversight is not a problem solver and could lead up to more problems, because if the Avengers had to wait for UN approval before they do anything, it could potentially prevent them from saving lives. And that's why this movie works so well, because it understands the certain choices and certain consequences of those choices. And yeah, and it's definitely one of the best movies in the MCU, and I love Captain America Civil War. Number two, and I had to seriously think about this one, guys, but my number two is Black Panther. And uh, at first, when I saw this movie, I thought this was the best MCU movie yet, because it has a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes, like 97, I think. And that's a really high rating for a superhero movie. I mean, that's the highest rating ever for a superhero movie, because back then, there was only two that were tied. There was The Dark Knight and Iron Man. They were at 94, but Black Panther topped it. I don't know why, but it worked. But, yeah, Chadwick Boseman, he's amazing as Black Panther. And, when it comes to this movie, there's an amazing cast. Like I said, we have Chadwick Boseman, and we also have, sorry. We have Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, and he is one of the best MCU movies since Loki. And his motivation is really understandable, because he thinks that Wakanda has all the resources to help other people, and they think that Wakanda should be doing their part to fix the world by force if necessary. And the point of view from certain characters is, it's really clear, because you have T'Challa, who grew up in paradise, and he was sheltered from all the world's chaos. And we have Killmonger, who grew up as an orphan in Oakland, and he thinks that Wakanda should be doing their part to fix the world. And it's really clear. Is it better to remain isolated from all the bad stuff that's happening to the world, or should you be trying to help mankind while also risking your exposure? And it's great. It has a great story and everything. Ryan Coogler, he did an amazing job with this movie, and I really love Black Panther, and that's why it's my number two. And before I get to my top favorite, here are a few honorable mentions: Iron Man 3, Thor, Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America the First Avenger, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And now, my number one favorite MCU movie is Avengers Infinity War. Yep, the big crossover yet in the MCU. Everything that has been building up to this, the Infinity Stones, and everything leading up to Thanos' big reveal. And I mean, even though Thanos had like a few cameos, like in the first Avengers, and then there's Guardians of the Galaxy and Age of Ultron, it wasn't until Age of Ultron where he decided he had enough of everybody's failures and he's going to go get the Infinity Stones himself. Because we see him getting the Infinity Gauntlet at the end of Age of Ultron, and he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And what this movie did so well is that, other than like the different interactions to certain characters, which they did really well, is that they changed the motivation for Thanos. And at first, in the comics, he was just a villain who just wants to kill people just to earn the love of death. But in this movie, they completely changed his motivation and make him more sympathetic. And he sees the world, I mean, the universe becoming more and more overpopulated, and everything is leading up to mass starvation, and then there's not enough resources to support everybody. And he thinks the only solution to this is to wipe out half of all life in the universe. And with all 6 stones in the Infinity Gauntlet, he can do it all with a snap of his fingers. Just like that. And the casting is so amazing in this movie. And the Russo brothers did an amazing job with this movie. And the movie was shot entirely in IMAX, and which is how I saw this movie. And IMAX, the sound, the action, oh my god, it is gold. And it's definitely my favorite in the MCU. And Josh Brolin as Thanos, perfect casting. I mean, this is apparently his year, because he played not only Thanos, but Cable as well in Deadpool 2. I mean, I don't know which I love more, Josh Brolin as Thanos or Cable, but honestly, I prefer Thanos, because he's such a amazing villain. Because, I mean, he's definitely, for my opinion, the best villain in the MCU, and I really can't wait for the 4th Avengers movie. And this was so much fun, guys. So yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this top 10. I really want to figure out what my next top 10 will be, and I want to do more movie reviews, like I said in my previous video. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching my videos and liking and subscribing to my channel. And I don't know what I'd do without you guys. You're the best. So until next time, peace.